Welcome one and all to our Assassin's Creed Shadows review in progress. Jess here, and I have Craig with me as well from Pure Dead Gaming. And as I said, we're diving headfirst into Assassin's Creed Shadows, the latest instalment in Ubisoft's iconic franchise. Why a review in progress, I hear you ask? Well, it's because despite having the game for about 12 days now and sinking around 40 hours in so far, there is still loads to see and do. But fear not, we will be peeling back the layers of this stealthy adventure, exploring everything from jaw-dropping visuals to gameplay mechanics, all while unpacking how it holds up in the ever-expanding Assassin's Creed universe. The discussion will remain spoiler-free, and any footage you see is from early in the game. So whether you're a seasoned assassin or just curious about the buzz, we've got you covered. Sharpen your hidden blades and get ready to step into the shadows. So let's start with what's new. Craig, does this feel like an evolution or a revolution?
Look, while there is bits and pieces of new in there, I would definitely say an evolution. Like, a casual Assassin's Creed fan would pick up Shadows mid-sesh and feel right at home. I think it's more when it comes to the hardcore fans that they'll notice like little nuances that add up and make a bit of a more refined experience. But yeah, it's definitely an evolution, I would say. Like, for my personal taste, I'm struggling to think of a change that I'd call a negative, which is pretty good, but it is all iteration.
Okay, let's briefly discuss the story and the dual protagonists. Now, obviously we said this would be spoiler free, so just give us your kind of top level thoughts on the narrative and the two main characters, Newe and Yasuke.
I haven't finished the story yet, so I'll reserve final judgment on that just now, but the first 40 hours are certainly compelling. There's been a lot of controversy going in surrounding Yasuke's inclusion, because apparently there weren't any black samurais during this time period. But of the two characters, it's honestly his backstory that I'm most invested in. Assassin's Creed is like always pulled from history, but it's never been historically accurate. And it's certainly never been a grounded story, so people lashing out over this is honestly weird behaviour in my mind. Also, his introduction is cool as fuck. He accompanies his master, a priest, to see Lord Nobunaga. The Lord instantly sees promise in Yasuke. He quickly sort of realises that this guy is a warrior, and he notices that he can scan every threat in the room when he first entered. So Nobunaga quickly then takes Yasuke under his wing because he sees the value in having an experienced outsider in his ranks, treats him as an equal, much to the dismay of some others. But yeah, outside of some kind of normal AC story beats and cutscenes that I don't think land quite as they were intended, for the most part, yeah, I think the story's been pretty good so far, and there is some really fun set-piece stuff as well.
Okay, let's move on to gameplay. You sort of said at the beginning that this would feel familiar to Assassin's Creed casuals. Do you expect it to be, I don't know, like a big enough of a jump for hardened fans?
So this is where I'm not sure, to be honest. I think it could divide opinion with some people who maybe expected a little bit more of a leap. But I think others will be happy that they're getting their AC fix. The differences between the two characters are sizable. It feels like what they tried to do in Syndicate with Evie and Jacob, but it's definitely more fleshed out. Naue is small, nimble, stealth-focused. She can meet enemies head-on occasion, but it's not really advised to wade into like a number of people, whereas Yasuke is like a total tank. When sprinting, he can like destroy parts of the world, fences, doors, enemies. It definitely feels like the devs have leaned into letting you play the way you want to. Like, some people don't like the stealth part of Assassin's Creed. But while I am enjoying Yasuke's backstory more, I definitely prefer Naue's gameplay. I personally love stealth, and this might be the best implementation of it I've seen in an Assassin's Creed game. The two main new features are the ability to go prone, and that you can now grab enemies from behind so that you can like move them to a safer place before dispatching them. They're not really monumental changes, but they do allow you to vary the way you play. Naui has some really cool parkour animations too, that again, it's not changing the game, but it's changing the way the game looks and the way the game plays out, which I really like. The other main addition is to Naui's arsenal is the grappling hook. Again, Syndicate vibes with this, although it's a more primitive version that she has to like manually climb rather than when she nicked off Batman. It does make for some interesting climbs to unlock viewpoints as well, I would say. Face-to-face combat is similar to before, but it's got some new wrinkles. There are various ways to deal with enemy encounters, and my favourite was to be reactive, like parrying, dodging. I feel like that works great. When you see a silver flash, you can tap block to perform a perfect parry. Attacks that glow red can't be parried, but you can perfectly dodge them, and that'll leave an opening for you. And lastly, there's chain attacks, which are highlighted by a blue flash. These are probably the hardest to counter because they vary in both how many blows there are, as well as the timing. There's a shit ton of upgrades too. Thankfully, these aren't laid out like a constellation either this time. It's actually quite cool how they've done it. I would say both Naui and Yasuke have their own sections like Tools, Shinobi, Assassin. Each of them house a bunch of different upgrades, but also each upgrade is tied to knowledge level, which is new. So you may have 20 upgrade points, but your next upgrade is hidden behind knowledge level 2. So to upgrade that and upgrade your knowledge level, you have to do side content like collecting scrolls at temples, other various side activities, and it's a clever way, I think, of funneling you into side content without feeling like it's a total chore and a tick boxing exercise. There's also a really cool accessibility feature called Pathfinder, which you can turn on at any point, and all you do is hold left with the D-pad, and it draws a line in the ground showing you the way to your next objective. And given that the world is so vast, it's really cool that you could be in the middle of like a forest and be like, shit, I don't want to just run directly to where my objective is because there could be a mountain in front of it. And then you spend 5 minutes like a dick trying to jump up and down to see what bit you can climb. This shows you it will always take you a path that is accessible, and it really does cut out some time, I would say.
Speaking of chores, pre-release, the hideout has been featured a lot. This is obviously your base of operations that you can kind of upgrade and design how you like. Some people are a bit worried that it'll get in the way of the game that I've seen online. How have you found this so far?
So I actually haven't messed with it as much as I should have so far. I've placed a few different buildings when required, but I haven't actually sat down and tried to really design something cool. Like, all the buildings are stock designs, but you can purchase new decorations for them, including like various roofs, different doors, windows, stuff like that will make it unique. Upgrading different buildings allows you to level up like allies, scouts, etc. So far, I like how it hasn't been shoved down my throat. I'll be doing whatever's needed for the platinum, obviously, but just for now, my focus has been more on the world and playing the game and assassinating, and the game has just let me get on with it, which I quite like. There will be people that are really looking forward to this part of the game, this new aspect, and I think you'll be able to dive into it pretty well. It's not hands off. It's very much rigid in its approach, but it is nice that it's there for those who want it.
Yeah. How is the mission structure? Because I know that previous games have taken a bit of heat for your character leveling slower than perhaps some would like, with the option to buy additional XP boost stuff. Is there any such nonsense here?
Certainly not at launch, although they could add that option later, I suppose. The objective screen can be a little daunting when you open it. There's icons everywhere. It's got so many different sections, each with multiple different quests and oftentimes assassinations tied to it. Missions will give you like a recommended level for taking it on, which you can ignore, but I would say be careful. Like at one point while playing as Naui, I came up against an enemy, just a single enemy that was 4 levels above me, and I thought, I'll go for it. I ended up in a face-to-face battle for about 5 minutes. I was parrying everything, I was delivering strikes, and I barely struck a blow. Like his health bar was pretty much full. I eventually just had to run away. I did go into the menu and turn on the guaranteed assassination, as to me that's just how Assassin's Creed should be. So with that on, you can take on missions at a higher level if you remain hidden. Also, by default, guided exploration was turned off for me, which meant that all you would get is like some rough information on your next objective, and you'd have to go and investigate. You could use scouts, etc. But half because I was on a tight time frame and half because it just isn't my preferred way to play, I ended up turning it on just so that I'd be given objective markers. I'll be interested to see if the game gets rated any higher because of this sense of exploration. It's been available in the last few games, but somehow most people seem to have missed it and then have panned its lack of exploration. So I'll be interested to see if this works this time.
Let's end then on graphics and performance. Does it feel like a leap in this regard?
Not really, to be honest. The game is beautiful in places, but all Assassin's Creed games have been. Mm-hmm. It doesn't feel like much of a jump from Valhalla to me. I mean, maybe check out Digital Foundry. I'm sure they're better placed to give you the finer details, but for me, it feels very much in line with what we've seen before. I'm playing in performance mode and have mostly had a stable 60 FPS. The only real dips that I've noticed are, interestingly, during the hideout area. Even looking at the PS5 Pro specs ahead of launch, it's essentially just a little bit more ray tracing, which seems slightly disappointing. That sounds like I'm being negative on it, which I'm not. Like I said, it really does look beautiful at times, and one thing I really loved was the change in seasons. I first properly noticed it as it turned to autumn, and like all you could see was all the leaves dropping from the trees and like swirling in the wind. There was lots more like reds and oranges. The colour palette like really came alive. The world felt alive. It's a really cool mechanic. It also gives you a real sense of time passing, and that it's not just... I think sometimes it's easy, even in an open world game, to feel like the entire game's happened over the course of 3 days or something, but you actually feel time passing in this, which is a really unique mechanic, I thought.
So, I suppose in closing then, you like it?
I really like it. I really do. I'm going to hold off on a final review score, obviously, until I finish the game, but at the moment, I'd be leaning towards an 8.5, maybe even a 9. You could take that with a pinch of salt. I am a huge Assassin's Creed fan, so it is one that I've been waiting for. But honestly, it's delivered in pretty much every way I wanted. I've literally just paused the game so that I could record this. So if you'll excuse me, I'll just get back to it.
Okay, well, we'll wrap up our discussion here then. If you are interested, Assassin's Creed Shadows is set to release in the UK on Thursday the 20th of March. At 12 AM for PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X. If you're playing on PC via Ubisoft Connect, you'll get access slightly earlier at 10 PM on Wednesday the 19th. And for PC players using Steam, the game unlocks at 4 AM, March 20th. Do let us know in the comments if you're planning to dive into this adventure as soon as it launches, and if you have any questions, we'll try and answer them as well. To keep up with Craig's progress of the game and ongoing discussions, you can catch our weekly podcast, which releases every Friday on all podcast platforms. But until next time, goodbye.
Goodbye.